I knew something was wrong the moment she told me I was being paranoid. She said it so casually, over breakfast, while stirring her coffee, like we were talking about weather. Her phone had buzzed under her elbow, and when I glanced at the name, she angled it just slightly away. Not enough to be obvious, just enough to remind me how long it had been since I'd touched that part of her life. Her work life. "You're always imagining things," she added, her voice light, rehearsed. "You overthink." But it wasn't my imagination that caught her whispering in the kitchen at 11:47 p.m., phone pressed too close to her mouth. And it wasn't paranoia that noticed how she started dressing nicer on Tuesdays, just Tuesdays, like clockwork. That was the day she said her team had their strategy sync with upper management. But if you saw the way she put on mascara and smiled at herself in the mirror, you wouldn't think it was about spreadsheets. It wasn't a specific moment that made me suspicious. It was the slow erosion. Little things. The way she used to reach for my hand in the car, gone. How she always used to fall asleep pressed against me. Now, she slept like we were strangers with a line drawn between us. At first, I blamed myself. I was tired. I'd been working more. Maybe I was too quiet lately. Maybe I stopped showing up the way I used to. But then her phone started living on silent. And I started paying attention. Her name is Rachel. We've been married 8 years. The kind of love people described as steady. We were the couple that everyone thought had it figured out. 2 full-time jobs, 1 dog, and a little house with chipped paint and perfect Sunday mornings. That's the version people saw. But behind closed doors, the threads had been fraying for months. Still, I didn't accuse her. I didn't shout. I didn't snoop, at least not in the way most people do. I waited. I listened. I watched the patterns shift like a man trying to read the weather before the storm. And then came the voicemail. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten home from work, loosened my tie, poured a drink. Rachel was out. Happy hour with coworkers, she said. Team bonding. I remember standing by the window, watching the streetlight flicker through the blinds when my phone buzzed. Voicemail. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Probably spam. But something made me press play. The voice that filled the room was drunk, loud, and unmistakably male. Slurred around the edges like someone 5 drinks deep. At first, I couldn't make out what he was saying, just laughter and the sound of music behind him. Then came the words. Tell her she was amazing tonight. Seriously, tell Rachel she knows what she's doing. Damn, can't believe she's married to a guy who doesn't even see it. Poor dude. I stood frozen. It played again. The last line, poor dude, echoed like a knife being twisted slowly in the dark. I didn't move for a full minute. Just stood there, drink in hand, the ice melting in silence. My wife had always been good at lying, but her coworker wasn't. I didn't know his name yet, but I would. I didn't delete the voicemail. I saved it, transferred it to my laptop, played it again through headphones just to be sure I wasn't hearing it wrong. Each time, the pieces fell into place. The late nights, the phone turned face down, the way she started humming in the mornings like a woman holding onto someone else's secret. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat there at the kitchen table, my fingers tapping against the oak grain, going over every memory from the last 3 months. Her birthday weekend. That off-site conference. The weekend she got back and kissed me like it was a habit, not a choice. That voicemail didn't break me. It woke me up. I spent the next 2 days acting like nothing had changed. I kissed her forehead, asked about her day. I even offered to make dinner Friday night. She said she'd be late, work stuff again. I nodded, told her to be safe. But I had a plan. We were scheduled to visit her parents that weekend. Her father had just retired, and they wanted to celebrate with a small dinner. Rachel seemed excited, kept talking about how she'd missed family time, and I decided that would be the night. If she could lie with a smile in their kitchen, I wanted her to try and lie after hearing her lover's voice in front of the people who thought she was still the woman I married. I copied the voicemail to a small Bluetooth speaker. Nothing flashy, just a quiet little device the size of a coffee mug. It fit right in with the casserole dishes and framed photos in her parents' dining room. Dinner was perfect, almost offensively normal. Her dad poured wine. Her mom served meatloaf. Rachel laughed at all the right moments, leaned into me with that same familiar affection, like muscle memory had taken over. And just as dessert came out, peach cobbler, her favorite, I reached into my coat pocket, set the speaker gently on the table, and pressed play. Her father looked up, confused. Rachel's smile froze, and the room filled with the sound of a stranger's voice, slurred and smug. Tell her she was amazing tonight. Damn. Can't believe she's married to a guy who doesn't even see it. Poor dude. Silence. No one breathed. Her mother set the dessert spoon down like it weighed 100 pounds. Rachel's face turned gray. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Her lie had unraveled in 6 seconds flat, right there between the gravy boat and the cloth napkins her mom always folded just so. Rachel didn't say anything at first. She didn't scream, deny, or even look at me. She just stared at the little speaker in the middle of her parents' dinner table like it had crawled up from some buried past and was now gnawing through the present. Her father was the first to speak. What the hell was that? His voice was low, measured, the kind of tone you only use when the earth has cracked beneath your feet and you're trying not to fall in. Rachel blinked, swallowed. Her fork lay untouched beside the half-eaten cobbler. I don't know, she whispered. But everyone at the table knew that was a lie. Her mother's eyes flicked to me. Is this some kind of joke? I looked her straight in the eye. It's real. A voicemail I got 2 nights ago. From a number I didn't recognize. Then I turned to Rachel. From someone who, apparently, doesn't know how to dial the right contact when drunk. Her mother gasped softly. Her father leaned back, arms crossed, his lips pressed into a thin line. Rachel finally moved, slowly, like she was underwater. She reached for the speaker, hand trembling, but I gently slid it away. Don't. Just don't. I wasn't trying to make a scene. I'd lived through too many dinners where things went unsaid, where problems were swept under tablecloths like dust. But this time, I was done playing house in a collapsing home. I looked at her, really looked, waiting for her to say something that would make sense of it all. Something human. But instead, her mouth opened, and she defaulted to instinct. You went through my stuff? I actually laughed, not out of humor, but disbelief. I didn't go through anything. He called me, left a message. I didn't even know his name. Rachel's father cleared his throat, voice gruff. Who is he, Rachel? She didn't answer. Her silence was louder than the voicemail. Rachel, her mom whispered, eyes pleading. Please, just be honest. And that's when Rachel cracked, not loud, not violent, just quiet defeat. Her eyes dropped to the table, and she whispered his name. Evan. I'd never heard of him. A coworker, she added, still not looking at me. He was part of a project. We worked late. It got complicated. Complicated. Like she tripped and fell into his bed. I didn't speak. I let her keep going, hoping, naively, maybe, that she'd have the decency to give me something real. A truth I could hold on to, even if it hurt. But instead, she went defensive. I didn't mean for it to happen. You were always distant lately. You come home tired. You don't talk. We haven't connected in months. Her mother stood up. Stop. Rachel's eyes widened. Her mother had never raised her voice before. You don't get to do that. You don't get to cheat and then blame your husband for being tired. This man has loved you, built a life with you, and you think you can just rewrite the story to make yourself the victim? Rachel blinked back tears. I'm not trying to. But her mother turned away. And me? I just sat there, every nerve in my body buzzing with quiet devastation. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to humiliate her. I just wanted her to tell the truth. To admit what we had became something else, and that she let it slip through her fingers without telling me it was already gone. Her father spoke next, voice low and even. You need to leave. Rachel stared. Dad. He pointed toward the door. Now. She didn't move. So I stood. Not fast. Not angry. I just rose, pulled out my chair with the slow grace of a man whose heart had stopped trying to argue with itself. She's not the only one leaving. Her mom looked up, confused. What? I packed a bag. It's in the car. I turned to Rachel. This wasn't for you. It was for me. I needed to stop pretending. I walked to the door, the weight of every memory trailing behind me like old shadows. Her laugh in the kitchen. Sunday mornings. The way she used to run her fingers through my hair when I couldn't sleep. All of it. Behind me now. I paused at the threshold. You told me I was being paranoid, I said. And maybe I was. But you should have been scared the moment I stopped asking questions. Rachel didn't say anything. She just stood there, alone, in the house where everyone had finally seen the truth. And for the first time in months, I felt something unexpected. Clarity. I didn't go home. I drove aimlessly for a while, letting the highway swallow me. I stopped at a rest area just past the state line and slept in the car with the windows cracked and my coat over my chest. It wasn't about running. I just needed space, not the kind you ask for in a relationship, but the kind you take when the ground has shifted beneath your feet and you're trying to find which way is still north. She didn't call that night. Or the next. No texts. No emails. Not even a half-hearted apology. It was 2 days later when I finally turned my phone back on and saw her name sitting there in a long line of unread messages. Most were short. Please talk to me. I messed up. You didn't have to do it like that. Then came the long one. A wall of text that read more like a confession than an apology. She admitted to the affair. Said it wasn't serious. That it had been a stupid, emotional thing with a man who gave her attention when she felt invisible. That last word, invisible, stuck with me. She said I'd been distant. Too focused on work. Too calm. Like living with a ghost. She said she didn't mean to hurt me. That it wasn't about love. That she still loved me. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I knew that whatever came next couldn't be about saving her feelings. What hurt the most wasn't just the betrayal. It was how little she understood what she'd broken. When you love someone, really love them, you don't let your loneliness turn into someone else's disaster. You talk. You fight. You scream if you have to. But you don't seek warmth in someone else's arms and then pretend it was just a mistake. You make a choice. And she had. The fallout came in waves. Her father called me a week later. He asked how I was doing. I could hear it in his voice, the guilt, the embarrassment. He said Rachel had moved back home temporarily. Said she wasn't talking much. Said her mother still hadn't forgiven her. I told him I appreciated the call, but that I didn't need anything from them. I didn't. I really didn't. I moved into a friend's guest room for a while. Started going on long walks in the morning. I deleted our anniversary pictures off my phone, but I kept the voicemail. Not out of bitterness. I wasn't trying to cling to the pain, but because I wanted to remember what it felt like to finally see the truth. And slowly, something strange started happening. I started breathing again. I started sleeping through the night without waking up in a cold sweat, wondering who she was texting. I started remembering who I was before I became someone always waiting for the other shoe to drop. It wasn't a clean healing. I'd see couples at restaurants and feel a pang in my chest. I'd hear her favorite song in the grocery store and have to pause in the frozen aisle until the memories passed. But I was moving forward. One night, I sat at a diner alone, sipping black coffee, and I wrote something in my notebook. Just a sentence. She mistook my silence for weakness, but silence is where I rebuild. And that was the truth. Rachel and I didn't speak again, not really. There were the legal logistics, of course. The house. The accounts. But it all got handled cleanly. No screaming matches. No courtroom drama. Just two people quietly sorting through the debris of something that once felt unshakable. The divorce finalized 4 months later. And when I signed the papers, I didn't feel anger. I felt relief. I felt like I had finally come home to myself. Sometimes people ask if I ever saw her again. I did once. 6 months after everything, at a grocery store. She was in line ahead of me, buying bottled water and paper towels. She looked thinner, her hair tied back, her eyes a little duller. She turned, caught my eye, froze. I nodded once. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. But she didn't. And that was enough. I left without saying a word. Because forgiveness doesn't always come with reconciliation. Sometimes, it's just choosing peace over the wreckage. Choosing to walk away with your dignity intact, even when the world tries to strip it from you. So no, I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I just hope she learned that love, real love, isn't something you borrow when you're lonely. It's something you fight for when it gets hard. And me? I learned something too. That heartbreak doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. And what I found, in the quiet after the storm, was a man still capable of love, just not for someone who couldn't see what she already had. And that, in the end, was enough.